What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. If you're not a subscriber, please go ahead and consider subscribing, and yeah, make sure you have that notification bell on if you are a subscriber, so you're always notified when new content comes out. But today, you know, we're working on the budget BMW drift build, the BBDB, and we're getting closer to getting the rear end back together. But what do we have here? What do we have here? Alright, so on the right here is the differential I'm currently running, which is a 3.15 welded differential out of the 325i. What we have here is a 3.91 open differential out of a 328 or something like that automatic car. So the goal today is we're going to pull both these apart. We're going to take the guts out of this one and put it in that one. Now you may be wondering why I'm doing this, and it's very simple. I've never welded a differential. I'm sure I could, but I'd like to practice on something before, so I'd probably get a scrap differential and practice on it before I just go ahead and weld it and hope it works. I know the welded I've been using works. I drifted on it for 2 days. It held together just fine. And so I'm just gonna pull, and actually I did this to get that differential working, long story short, either way. But I'm gonna basically swap carriers between the two. So in order to do this, if you're ever doing this with any car, the pinion and the ring gear have to match. So I cannot just take out the carrier assembly, the differential internal part, and put it in the 328 differential without swapping the ring gear between the two, because the ring and pinion gears are meshed together and mated together. They're a pair, they're a couple, they love each other, whatever. And you have to make sure to use the proper shims and everything like that, which are on your axle stubs, to make sure that the backlash and everything stays proper. So we got to switch to ring gear, and then we just make sure to use the stubs on the right with the stubs on the left. You know, we make sure those stay together. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So with BMW differentials, when you take these stubs out by taking these bolts out, there's shims in there, and that shim thickness may be different than that shim thickness, and that's what centers the differential in the case. So if I'm using this case, let's just say for simplicity's sake, all the bearings are the same amongst all differentials. They're just a part number, they put them on and stuff like that. It's the shimming that makes the backlash adjustment. So if I'm using this differential, I'm going to want to keep this shim on this side, this shim on this side, so that the backlash will be set properly. And if I'm using this one, I want to use, you know, the same thing. This shim on this side, this shim on this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the guts out of this. We're going to take the ring gear off of this one. We're going to pull the guts out of this one, take the ring gear off of this one, this ring gear on this different welded differential, and then put it back in here. It all makes sense once I get everything apart. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, here's everything that is disassembled from the welded differential, and here it is right here. So basically what I was talking about with shims are these right here. So this goes on the side, and it has the race for the bearing, and it pushes and positions the differential to set the backlash, which is, you know, the spacing of the ring gear versus the pinion gear. So how far the ring gear sits and meshes with that. So that's why it's very important to keep your orientation proper. So basically everything here, this is the right side, this is the left side, and the casing, it's all in orientation, so I know which way it was taken apart. So now let's do the same with that one. Alright guys, I'm going to time lapse this, but the top bolts are going to be 16s. Once you get your axle stubs out, which you can't really see very well, all the bolts that hold basically the mount for the differential itself are 13s. So 16s and 13s. Here we go. Alright, so there's our differential. As you can see, the junkyard or whatever, they've emptied it, and then they scribble all over it, basically to identify that it's theirs and whatnot. So I was actually surprised. I didn't think they went through all that much trouble, but apparently they do. All right, as you can see, when they haven't been apart for a while, getting basically the races out can be a pain in the ass. But now we have it out, so we just want to make sure not to mix up the parts we need. I'm gonna swap my gloves and we'll get back and I'll show you what we gotta do next. All right, so once everything's disassembled, the first step's going to be, well, the first process involves getting the ring gear off, which is the, you know, the hexalogically cut whatever gear that goes around it. We're gonna get that off, but on BMWs they use this kind of trigger wheel inside the differential for the speedometer, so we have to remove the trigger wheel first from the differential before we can get the ring and pin or the ring gear off. So normally what I've seen to be doing that seems to be working pretty decently. Whether it's the preferred method, it probably isn't, but basically I'm going to flip the differential upside down and then I'm going to tap the trigger wheel off. So basically the idea is you're going to be hitting the trigger wheel in a location that's going to go right in between there to pop it down without hitting these fins. Alright, so here's our trigger wheel. Now you will kind of probably, if it'll focus, so you will probably kind of ding it up or whatnot, but I can't see that really causing any problems. All I'm going to do is I'm going to basically scuff that up to make any loose metal from hitting it, you know, make sure it's, you know, not going to cause any problems. But other than that, I don't notice any warping or anything. I didn't have any problems with the other one in the other differential doing it this way, so that's how I'm going to continue to do it. If you have a better way, please comment down below on how to get these off easier. But once this is off, now we're going to take all these bolts off around here and get the ring gear off. These are 19 millimeters. Alright, now that they're all broken loose, we're going to leave them screwed in quite a bit, and we're going to basically tap the bolt heads to try to unseat the ring gear off the differential. Once you have broke it loose and it's pretty much unseated from the differential, we're going to find something that fits down in the hole that's not going to damage the threads but will allow us to tap it off. It shouldn't take much force at this point because pretty much all the pressure has been relieved that was clamping it together, and it's unseated, so it's just going to take a couple light whacks and it should fall right down. I'm going to use a screwdriver, just stick it down the bolt hole and tap it. So at this point, we're pretty much done with this differential right here. We need that differential. So we're going to repeat the process, get the ring gear off of this differential so we can use this ring gear on that differential so that differential can go in this case. So we can have our 3.91 final drive. That's right, gaining all the horsepowers, kind of. Alright, I know this looks like a big mess, but just ignore everything over there and focus only here. Here's our new welded differential right here, and here's our ring gear in our case that everything matches. Everything's orientated the way we need it to be, so we're moving ahead. So real quick, this is how you calculate what final drive you have and everything like that. Step 1, count the amount of teeth that are around the ring gear. Step 2, count the amount of teeth that are around the pinion gear. Divide the ring gear by the pinion. In this case, we have 43 on the ring gear and 11 on the pinion. That gives us a calculated ratio of 3.909 or 3.91. On the other one, I think it was like 42 and 12, I don't know, but it was 3.15, so whatever the math is. So now I'm going to clean this case up, clean some of these parts up, and get ready for reinstallation. Alright guys, so everything's cleaned up and everything, so now the step is reverse of removal. We're going to put the ring gear on the differential, we're going to put the speedometer trigger wheel back on the differential, we're going to put the differential back in the case and reassemble. Now, with the ring gear going on the differential, you have to make sure to line the holes up really well because it's like a press fit. So once you get to a point, it's going to be a taper fit. So you're not going to be able to just spin it and then bolt it back down. So line your bolt holes up really well, go slow, and don't hit the gear end of the ring gear, like the teeth end, with a hammer. Use a rubber mallet or a piece of wood or something that's not going to damage the teeth. And make sure to use Loctite. I use blue Loctite in case I have to do this again or whatever. It makes it easier for removal. So use Loctite, use blue Loctite. I'm going to go ahead and slap these two together and everything like that, and I'll bring you guys back when I get the differential carrier, the actual differential assembly, ready to go back in the case. Alright, there's our differential all fully assembled. All the ring gear bolts are tight, and the speedometer trigger wheel is back on. Now, it's kind of a pain, but you kind of got to just... Woo! You kind of got to just wiggle it on by hand until it's kind of on there and just not going to fall off. And then I used a 3-inch exhaust pipe that fits pretty close to give it a couple whacks with a piece of a board on top. And then once I had it set, I took a screwdriver inside the little channel and just kind of tap until it was all solid and the ring looked like it was seated all the way. Is it perfect? No. But that's how I've been doing it, and I haven't had an issue. So whatever, we're just going to send it. It's back together. So now we're going to get the case cleaned out and get ready to install the differential back inside, and then we'll be done. So the moment of truth has finally arrived. We are going to reassemble our differential. I'm so excited. Let's see if we can get this bad boy back together. So this is kind of a tedious process, I'm not gonna lie. You have to kind of maneuver the differential in the case and then put the side pieces back on, and it's a little bit of wiggling this and a little bit of wiggling that, and it's kind of a pain, but we're gonna get her done. Alright, so I don't know if you can see this, but this knob here has to line up with this line here to line your bolt holes. So this goes facing up. You'll know up by the little hole right here. So once you get it pretty close like this, you're going to get a bolt or two in, because as you work with one side, it may push the other side out. Alright, so capacity on this is 1.8 quarts if I remember correctly. Yes, I just reused the gear oil. It was literally in there for one drift event. So yeah, I'm just going to reuse it because I'm cheap and this is budget, and it's perfectly fine in my eyes. So now all we have to do is clean it up and seal the case. Alright guys, here's the differential all sealed up, filled with fluid, ready to go. Everything looks good. Everything operates. She rotates just like a welded should. So that's going to wrap up this video and everything. I'm going to jump right into the next video, which is going to be installation. So hopefully this helped you out if you're dealing with a BMW E36, E46 differential and you need to know how to take it apart, swap some guts around, do whatever. Hopefully it just gives you a better understanding and everything. So please like, share, subscribe to the video, cop a sticker, support the channel, support the builds, and I will catch you on the next one. Later!